I will give you a title, which is Why and How of Evaluating. Chair, fellow speakers, and guests, you instinctively know what a good speech is, I'm sure. It will be engaging rather than you feeling like you're falling asleep, and it's full of waffle. And in my case, if you're from Belgium, then waffle comes as standard on every dessert menu. Now, in front of you is a template. It's a template that I've made which includes all the points from F2 to A4. Despite the notes in the old manual on page 81 to 83 and the new manual on page 29, the forms that are also on the ASC website regarding evaluating, and 2 videos on the subject on our YouTube channel, it came to my attention that some people are concerned about doing evaluations because they're not sure how to do it, what to say, how to structure it. Hence this evening's presentation. But I'm setting you a challenge. I hope you have a pen. I would like you to fill out on the form as I am speaking, because this is a speech, even though it's a training. What it is you feel has been achieved. So the title was Why and How and Why of Evaluation, just in case you can't remember it. The time is probably roughly 10 to 15 minutes. And you can put a plus underneath the topic. Sorry, not the topic, let's see, what's it called? The section, as in the salutation, the opening. So if I've done it, you might want to put a plus. If I haven't done it, you might want to put a minus, or if I've done it, you might want to put a tick. Whatever mark suits you. This is your evaluation form, your notes, so that you can remember when you have to stand and do the evaluation what this means. Any questions on that?
If you evaluate your speech, but I don't know. I remember the opening and the salutation and the part of it. So we've got to remember back, have we?
No, you just have to mark on the form.
So you mark. Was there an interesting opening? Did I actually give a time? Did I have an interesting title? I'll go into more detail. This is just so that you've got a starting point. I'm giving you a moment to compose yourself and go, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I see how this works. And the reason I'm setting you this challenge is in the hope that it will build your confidence so that you can join the evaluators competition in January 2023. So I'll begin with the why evaluate. You probably know why you want to evaluate. If we didn't evaluate the speakers, then while they're doing their speech, they're focusing on what they're saying, not necessarily what they're doing, their mannerisms, their verbal tics, their finger tics. And so the purpose of the evaluation is to be able to pick these up and let the speaker know what they might be able to change and focus on that they're not aware of. you can't see these things for yourself. Hence the reason I video. So that if you get an evaluation and you're thinking, that didn't seem right, you can always go back and check on the video. Now, it helps the audience learn. It helps you as an evaluator learn what you need to do in a speech. So it's a learning process for the person who's given the speech and is getting the evaluation, for you as an evaluator, and for the people who are listening. It's a win-win-win. Not saying something that you feel wasn't quite right, or you didn't feel particularly comfortable with, or you just thought, wow, this was distracting, because you don't want to hurt their feelings, because you want to be nice, is not doing them any favours. It's not doing the audience any favours, because they might be thinking, oh, that was an issue, but that didn't come up in the evaluation. I wonder why. The key is not what you say. As Angela said last time in her speech, it's how you say it. So how do we actually do an evaluation? I'd like you to imagine a 2-year-old just learning to speak and says, aye, and walks towards you. And you pick them up and you say, mammy or daddy. You have no problems correcting them. You know it's going to help them get better and understand how to communicate to those 8 million people, billion people. The 8 million as well. And if you didn't correct them, they would continue calling you aye, aye, because they think that's okay and it works. They got your attention. So feel in yourself when you're giving the evaluation that you are the parent of that 2-year-old child. They don't have a problem receiving the evaluation because we are here all like children, eager to learn, excited about what we're going to discover. And you speak to them in that kind and caring way. That's how we deliver an evaluation that won't hurt somebody's feelings, rather than being completely critical and you did all of these things right and all of these things wrong. Your evaluation is a speech in itself. Therefore, it must begin with a salutation so that you can get everybody's attention. Next, you address the audience, not just the person you are evaluating. If I stared and said, this person did this and they did that in their speech, not only does it exclude the rest of the audience, but it can be really intimidating. You might feel like you're being put on trial. Not what we want here. This is a club, not a courtroom. You will speak about the person who has delivered their speech as the speaker. And again, you won't be giving their name. Scott or Jan did this. Because any person who speaks might make those mistakes. So it's much more inclusive. You will then talk about what you expected from the speech. This evening, what you're expecting from this speech is that I am going to educate you on evaluations. So you have to decide, is that what I've done? If you're a seasoned speaker, an evaluator, you might not learn something, but you might be able to assess that actually what I said would be useful to people who aren't used to evaluating. So that might be in the tick in the box of, yeah, it met my expectation. Mostly though, you're not evaluating the content of the speech, but the way the speech is delivered. So if they're talking about a time in history, you're not assessing, was that correct? And was this, well, you would assess, was it a suitable topic for the audience? But not, oh, well, I wouldn't have spoken about this, or I wouldn't have spoken about that. So it's the delivery of the speech, not necessarily the content. You will then share what they did well. You want to feel encouraging. If you start with, whoa, you did all of this wrong, the poor person is going to start to crumble and they might just not want to listen anymore. You'd be encouraging. This is what they did well. So I think back to a title, something that was engaging. John Crawford was a master at this with his Saints and Sinners. Wow, what was that about? That was engaging. Okay, so a note for that one. And so you can put your notes as you go along and go, oh, that was great, I really like that, that was engaging. You will pick what they found, what you found was engaging, what they did well. Did they meet certain criteria at the level that they are at? If it's an F1, it's about being able to come up and share and have the courage to stand and deliver a speech of some sort of construction. If it's a topic, did they actually follow the idea of the topic? Did they have the courage to stand? And so you're assessing the level. If they're an A5 or more, then you'll be a bit more picky about what it is that went well, but what their learning points are. You don't necessarily want more than 3, because otherwise it'll be completely overwhelming. They're likely to forget and start to feel completely demoralised. You need to explain why it worked well for you or why it didn't work so well. It's all very well saying, oh well, I don't like that shirt. What was it about that particular shirt that was distracting for that particular environment in that presentation? Not something that we normally speak about at the Speakers Club, but actually your dress code might be important. If you're going to a business meeting with torn jeans and you're expecting to get a job and your shirt is dirty, you're not going to be giving the right impression. So it's important to be able to point that out. If you want a job in this particular industry, actually turning up with a clean shirt is important. And so you can then explain how you would correct that. If you can't give them something that's going to be helpful for them to be able to correct it, then it's best not to say anything, because what can they do with that piece of information? They delivered it that particular way because that's what came naturally to them. And if they haven't got an alternative, they're just going to continue doing it that way. So find out what is it that detracts from the power of the speech or distracts you. Then you finish with a conclusion. summarising what is it about this speech that worked particularly well. You're being helpful to them. You're still encouraging them. A speech, like the F2, has a beginning, middle and end. An evaluation is a sandwich of something that worked well, a learning point and a conclusion. So it is a speech construction. What I discovered in doing my little bit of research for this evaluation is that in the new format, F1 to F5 do not have the evaluation of you have passed this level, which for me is actually disappointing because it might lead someone to not master that skill before getting on to the next level. I suspect it's because they want to give enough people the experience to get the foundation levels and not get completely discouraged because they are weak in a particular area. I don't know what the thinking was behind that change of structure, and I was hoping John McGee might have been here because he may well have known. So, if they are at an A level, then you would mention whether they have succeeded and are ready to move on to the next level, or if they need to repeat the level that they're at. And then something that I think has been missed in this group, forgotten about maybe, is that there are these speech evaluation forms for each level, and you can download them from the internet. And once you've completed it, and maybe you do a draft, and then you would give that sheet to the person that you've evaluated. So they have a record, and they can look back. Aha! This is what I did on that level, and if you then come to evaluate that level, you might want to see how that worked. When you got the evaluation, what was particularly useful that helped you move forward, and you might be able to give that same comment to that speaker at that level. When it comes to evaluating topics, you would evaluate the chair of the topic session and the flow between each topic and how it's all pulled together, because again, that is all one speech as a whole of topics. And each topic is meant to be a complete speech, beginning, middle, and end, and a resting, opening, an ending that's memorable, and a speech that is connected to the topic, sometimes a bit loosely, but that's okay. I realised in the topics contest, it has to be a bit more than loosely connected. And also their time, because getting used to being able to speak for a set time is really helpful. If a speech is marked at 10 minutes and you're at 15, 20, 30 minutes, the audience is going to get bored and they may have somewhere else to go. So it is important to get used to that time frame. And as I've got no idea how long I've been going, but it's okay. When it comes to the general evaluator, they're evaluating the learning points for the whole meeting, and also it is meant to be their job to evaluate the evaluators. That is, the evaluators for each speech and the topics evaluator, because otherwise they don't get an evaluation. How to be a good evaluator is the same way you become a good speaker. Practice. So my suggestion is join the competition and begin to practice before then, which is why I wanted to do this speech now and not in January. You can ask for help from a more experienced evaluator, and you can evaluate topics. You must have the courage of your convictions. Speak with conviction. This is your practice in your speech. If you can do this in an evaluation, you will be sure when you are doing a speech that matters to you, that you will also be able to speak with conviction. And remember, it is still only your opinion. And so when you're receiving an evaluation, you know that is that particular person's opinion of your speech. And you can always ask for opinion from other speakers if you think that evaluator was maybe a bit harsh or didn't get it quite right. And you can re-evaluate yourself on the videos. I will put the links to the templates in this video on the YouTube channel, so it is easy for you to find, because I realise the AOC website is not that easy to navigate and find the resources. So it'll be there, easy to access. And the first one is already on the Facebook page as well, so we'll be putting some more there. So now it's your turn. Are we ready for break? And then we can do the evaluation after the break.
Can we ask a question?
You can ask a question.
I've sort of written things like good eye contact, good use of voice, blah blah. That's a bit mundane, isn't it? You know, it needs to have a bit more.
And that's the thing, that the evaluation is a speech in itself.
But
So
it's
how do you put that into a phrase that works? And that takes practice, just like coming up and doing a topic and then doing a speech and then doing the next level of the speech. So we can have a look at that when we do the evaluation. You'll probably get some suggestions. So the evaluator normally on a speech evaluation gets time in the break to look at all these notes and construct some sentences that make sense.
Or not.
Yes. Sorry?
Yes,
Time.
Time.
From the time I started the stopwatch, 19 minutes, 21 seconds.
Okay. This is a training session, so that's
Yes.
absolutely valuable.
Okay.
Will take us into the break to 10 to.
Okay.